Hi, good morning everyone. I'm Tiffany with Voices for Independence, Fitness and Activities, and welcome to the beginning of another week. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. It was the NFL kickoff season this weekend, so if you are a football fan, I hope you had a great time watching all the games yesterday, and if you had any luck, maybe your team even won. Today, I am taking a step back from our Cooking Across America just for a dish or two. There was some ingredients in my refrigerator, some blueberries that we had purchased a bit ago, and I wanted to use them up. They're starting to shrivel up a little bit. They're still delicious and tasty, but I wanted to use them up because I really don't like to waste food, especially fresh food, fresh produce. So I tried to use it up and incorporate however I can. So if it's not the best quality for eating by itself in the state that it's in, I can still use my blueberries in something. So that is why I'm going to make some baked blueberry fritters. So if you're not familiar, a fritter is like a fried cake or a donuts per se, where it's soft in the center but has a delicious sugary crispy outside. Well, we are going to make them, and usually they're deep fried, but we're going to bake ours but still get that crispy crunch on the outside and that soft delicious sweet center. So today what you will need is 6 tablespoons of butter. We're going to be making our blueberry fritter batter, and then while we put them in the pan and they're baking, we're going to make a blueberry glaze, and I am going to explain the important step to get them nice and crispy on the outside. All right, so there's going to be an extra step in here, not just baking, so stay tuned and make sure you listen, and I'll also attach the instructions and recipe in the comments below. So for this, like I said, you're going to need 6 tablespoons of butter, melted, but probably at room temperature. You don't want it right out of the microwave or out of the hot pan. So let it cool down, because we're going to be adding an egg to it, and really we don't want our egg to cook. So we're going to take our 6 tablespoons of melted butter and cooled, and then we're going to add 1 egg, and we're going to mix that in. And then next we're going to add, if you have yogurt, Greek yogurt, or even the ultimate addition would be blueberry yogurt, we're going to need about 10 ounces of that. Now, if you don't have yogurt or Greek, excuse me, got to tickle my throat. Pardon me. Or if you don't have Greek yogurt in your house, milk can be a substitute. You'll want to use buttermilk. And you can simply make that by adding a tablespoon of lemon juice to your 1 cup of milk. Now, if you're using milk instead of yogurt, you're going to want to use 1/4 cup less. Let me take a quick sip because I have that tickle. Excuse me. In my throat, a tickle in my throat this morning. All right, so I incorporated that, and now I'm going to add about 1 cup of milk, 8 ounces, because it's a little bit less than the 10 ounces of yogurt if you're adding yogurt. So I'm adding that in. It's actually buttermilk. I made it with adding a little bit of lemon juice and let it sit for a few minutes. And once all your wet ingredients are incorporated, you can then add your dry. Now, if you're being the super professional baker this morning, you can add your dry ingredients in a separate bowl and mix them together prior to adding them to the wet ingredients. I am just going to add my dry ingredients right to the bowl I already have, because you know I like using the least amount of dishes as possible. All right, so we're going to be adding 1.5 cups of flour to our blueberry fritter batter. Again, you can use white flour. Substituting flours, just do a little bit of research. Some flour, some of the alternative flours, such as coconut flour, rice flour, don't substitute directly, like the exact amount. So do a little bit of research and see what works best for your recipe, because some of those flours are a little bit finer and they don't self-rise. So you're going to want to make sure you see what is best when using a flour substitute. I'm just using regular white flour today. And I'm going to mix that in. Because it's a really wet batter, you do not need to get your handheld mixer out. We melted the butter, so it does not need to be creamed to soften it. It's already melted. And we're just mixing that flour into the butter and milk mixture we have. And remember, we added that 1 egg. And then we're going to be adding a half a cup of sugar. Most sugar substitutes, unless you get into the sugar alcohols or stevia, again, do a little bit of research and make sure it is an equal substitution, or sometimes the sugar substitutes are far less when you are using a substitute rather than the white granulated sugar. I am just using a white granulated sugar today for these blueberry fritters, so I'm just going to add what it says in the recipe, which is a half a cup. And then we'll stir that in, and we'll add our baking powder and a little bit of vanilla extract for flavoring. So this is a pretty easy recipe, a one bowl type of recipe, which I enjoy. If you want to make a delicious blueberry glaze that's going to help crisp it up later on in a step, you can go ahead and make that. You'll obviously want a separate bowl for that. I will be showing you the blueberry glaze part as soon as we finish our batter and we get it prepared for the oven. You'll want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees for this recipe, and these are going to bake for about 15 minutes in a mini muffin tins, all right? You want your little mini muffin tins for this. And we're going to add our 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And I like to kind of sprinkle it over the batter so to help make sure it doesn't clump up in one spot. If you want to, like I said, to sift your dry ingredients together separately, that helps avoid that problem. But then I just make sure I mix it well when I'm doing the one bowl technique. Scraping the sides to get all the ingredients off, dry ingredients off the sides. And then we're going to add our little bit of vanilla, and then all we have left to do is to fold in our fresh blueberries. You can also use frozen blueberries for this if you so desire. Like I said, the reason I'm making these this morning is because I have some fresh blueberries that I need to use up. So I am going to add in what's left of my fresh ones. So 1 teaspoon of vanilla right into the batter. Mix that in, and then you're ready to fold in the blueberries. For the blueberries, you're going to want about 1 cup of fresh or frozen blueberries. So our vanilla is mixed in, then I have my fresh blueberries that are looking a little weak, a little wilted, but again, baking them is the best way to use those up. They still will taste fine. They're still fine to eat. They might not be as pleasing to the eye to eat them fresh out of the container. So I am baking them into my blueberry fritters, and it'll help plump them back up also. All right, so once you have all your blueberry folded in, you are going to then take a 24 little mini muffin tin with 24 spots, lightly greased. And then we're going to fill these, and you can actually fill these most of the way. They're not going to rise that high, so fill it just about to the top, just like that. And then again, these are going to bake in the oven at 350 degrees for 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. I'll finish filling my muffin tin when I am finished sharing the recipe with you. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and show you the blueberry glaze we'll be making. It's important because, well, let me find my bowl. Here we go. Because in order to make these fritter-like, which is going to be crispy on the outside and soft on the inside, once they bake for 15 minutes, we're going to take them out of the oven and then lay them on a lined cookie sheet. So put a piece of parchment paper on a cookie sheet and lay them out. And then we are going to dip them in the glaze, and we're going to put them under the broiler in your oven for 3 to 4 minutes, turning them every minute or two until they're crisp. All right, so that is the trick here. So let me rinse my hands real fast. All right, and now we're going to make our blueberry glaze. So you're going to want to take about 2 cups of powdered sugar, and this is just a traditional way to make, the usual way to make a glaze. So it's always using powdered sugar. So we're going to take 2 cups of powdered sugar, and then we're going to add about 1/3 cup of milk, and then lastly we're going to smash some blueberries up in it. So let me get all my sugar in there, and then A 1/3 cup of milk will be added. And we'll mix that up, whip it up, and it should be pretty wet for a glaze. We'll add our milk. I'm using almond milk this morning. Again, almond milk is the equal substitution for regular milk. So you should have it shouldn't affect the outcome of the recipe at all. All right, so I'm gonna whip that up. And if you don't have fresh blueberries left for this part, you can use 2 teaspoons of blueberry jam if you want. If you do have your fresh blueberries left, I would just take them in a bowl and smash them up a little bit, and then we're going to add them to our glaze. So I'll show you that as well. But you can use a whisk if you want for your glaze, or you can just use your manpower here and whip it up really well, making sure to break up all that powdered sugar. You want a thin glaze without any lumps or clumps of sugar in it. So you just want to work with that until it's all mixed in well and starts to dissolve in the milk. All right, and then in a separate bowl, let me find one that will work well for us. I'm just going to take my handy dandy kitchen utensil. It's like a potato masher. And I'm going to mash up about 2 ounces of blueberries. I have some that are a little bit fresher. I wanted to finish off my old ones first. So about 2 teaspoons. I'm just guesstimating here on my blueberries because we're going to be smashing them. So just a little bit. It doesn't take much. You're going to want to crush them. Again, you can use blueberry jam if you have it instead of crushing them, which is just as acceptable. I'm just going to smash them up to get some of that juice out, soften them up, and break them up into smaller pieces. And then we're just going to fold it right into our glaze. So I'm going to take all the nice smashed blueberries right off our masher, put it in the glaze, and then get the rest out of our bowl. Set that aside. I'm going to have an avalanche over there. So then we're going to fold in our smashed blueberries. This looks delicious. A fresh berry glaze to put on top of our blueberry fritters. Mix that in, and then when your little fritters come out of the oven after 15 minutes, we're going to take them out of the muffin tin and lay them out, remember, on a lined baking sheet. We're going to dip them in the glaze and then pop them back in the oven in the broiler for about 4 to 5 minutes, turning them every minute to crisp up the outside. So make sure you keep an eye on them, checking them every minute because we don't want to burn them. And then you'll have some delicious baked blueberry fritters. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be back every day, twice a day, sharing wonderful recipes with you. We'll continue to cook across America as well. I'll be bringing you a dish from the good old home of Pennsylvania for us. A lot of us here in this group are here in Pennsylvania, and we'll share one of our state's favorite dishes tonight at 4. I hope you guys enjoyed everything this morning, and have a great rest of the day. Make sure to catch all the lives happening all day long. There's Zoom Fit class